regards to the wholesaling,
Right.
so we don't typically put our wholesale fee through the brokerage. We put our brokerage commissions through the brokerage. Again, the only time we're ever going to wholesale something is when there is a spread that is large enough where it doesn't make any sense for me to put it through the brokerage. Let's say that you find a gas station, because I know you've sold a bunch of gas stations, right? Let's say you found a gas station that you know is worth 1.5 million, and the seller wants 800 grand for it.
Right.
Instead of taking a 6% commission at 1.4 and you telling the seller that like I think it's worth more money, right? And then you could take 1.5 million times 6% commission, which is 90 grand. The seller nets 1.41, right? That's what a lot of brokers would do. What you and I could do potentially, right, is that we lock this up in a contract for $800,000 and we wholesale it. We double close for the guy at 1.5 million and we make $700,000. So like we wouldn't put a $700,000 commission through the brokerage, right? Like that just wouldn't make any sense because also the seller might be a little bit annoyed if he saw that we're making a $700,000 commission check. Also, when we structure it as a wholesale, I'm the buyer.
Right.
We would be the buyer. So like we would be the principal in the transaction and then we would just be selling it 15 minutes later after we close on the initial transaction. The answer, again, it depends, right? Like, because obviously if it's a much smaller fee in that example, let's say you found a gas station that was worth 1.5 million, but we only found it for 1.4, right? The sellers wanted to accept 1.4. We're only going to make 100,000 if we wholesale it minus closing costs and everything else. We're only going to net 70,000, so we might as well broker it for 6%. So that's why it just kind of depends. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gina. If you need more clarification, let me know. Next, James.
Yes, sir.
What's up, man? Thanks for submitting the question. Okay, I've been trying to get my prospect to sign an exclusive listing agreement before I bring him a buyer. He said if I had a buyer to bring them, and he would give me a commission without anything in writing. I've never worked on this way before. Am I wrong? Okay, so think about it from this perspective, right? You never worked with the guy. You obviously have the possibility that, the buyer is going to try to go around you, right? So the buyer's in control here a lot.
Yeah.
Do you know the buyer?
I don't have a buyer currently, but I do know the seller. Not too well, but I know him, well enough through, my network. Somebody actually hooked me up with him. So
I would just try to say, like, listen, why don't we sign a commission agreement, which basically just says, if I got you a buyer at X price, you pay me X commission. At least that way it protects you. This way, like, you're not reliable to list it for sale or do all that kind of nonsense, right? But like this way, you're just kind of you're protected. That's one. Also keep in mind that like a lot of deals that we work on, we don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Like just because our buyers are very well connected to us. So like the worst part is the buyer not knowing you. Because if the seller doesn't, like the seller could be a complete stranger, right? But hypothetically, if I can trust my buyer in going there and not going around me, I have control of the deal. And honestly, if you have, either one, if you have a very strong relationship with them, you're probably not going to get screwed.
I mean, I don't know if I have a strong enough relationship with the seller for him not to cut me out or,
Yeah.
But
yeah, and like obviously, like look, just to err on the side of caution, I always, you could just get a commission agreement signed, which again just says like, look, it's not that I'm marketing it for sale. It's just if and when I possibly bring you a buyer, right, and you accept, you are saying that you'll pay me X% commission.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah, fair enough.
Right. Yeah. So I would definitely probably just say like, listen, I got a couple guys, sign the commission agreement, I'll get to work. All right. Sweet. You got it, man.
Yeah, so I know we can like mainly you taught me to find off-market property and negotiate the deal and then bring a buyer. But I came across two leads this past week and they both said they're interested in selling, but they're also listing the property on the market next week. So I'm wondering, should I even put in the time to find a buyer for them after I get all the information, or should I just continue sticking with off-market property?
Two things. One, do you know if they signed a commission agreement already with another broker?
One seller, the wife is the broker, and then the other one, I believe they signed a listing agreement with the other broker.
They did.
Yes. Okay.
So two things real quick just with that alone. First off, you're always going to make less money when you do on-market deals. Okay? Unless like the two on-market deals that I'm working on right now, one of them, I'm the broker. I'm only making, I think, 2%. Other one, I said that I'm the buyer, and because the guy was only going to pay 2% commission, right? And it was on $2 million. So instead of making $40K, I told my buyer that his price is $2.1 million, and I'm going to wholesale it to him. So I'm going to make $100. I'm going to make more than he's going to make, right, on the deal, because I'm negotiating the deal. That's how it's like, again, you got to be very careful. Then obviously, look, it's a very good deal. That's why we're going to do it that way. But I would be very careful with how much time, energy, effort you spend on these deals when you're going to get paid less money. Now, listen, if you hypothetically already have a buyer and you know it's an easy layup of a deal, right? Then sure, whatever. Like if I'm getting paid, if I'm going to get paid 40 grand and I didn't do that much work, or like, I'm going to make 2% on the other one, I think it's like 60,000 bucks. I didn't really have to do much. I knew it was a good deal. Like I don't have to kill myself, bend over backwards to make 2% commission, right? It's just like, I can just kind of, I knew we were just going to lock it up and call it a day. That's fine. But if I have to like, hey, it's listed for sale, I'm not going to work tooth and nail to try to find a buyer for it if it's overpriced. Like, do you know it's like fairly good price?
They're about around the 6 cap. They're not the best deals.
And I wouldn't waste your time at all.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Yeah, like just look, unless you know that like this is like, Atlanta, right?
Yes.
Yeah, if this is like downtown Atlanta, unbelievable opportunities, and they wanted an 8 cap or something like that, and you're like, dude, I got a buyer for this all day. Yeah, sure. Take your time, do your thing, right? Like I understand, like before they try to hit the market, try to sneak your guy in there, right? But at a 6 cap, I couldn't even imagine having a guy at a 6 cap, right? Unless somebody, maybe you do, I don't know.
No, I typically want to find better deals.
Yeah, 100%. Guys, especially in this market right now, okay? Especially in this market, guys, like we need to be finding good deals. That's where the money's made here, right? The money is made. Why does somebody need us? Let's talk about that real quick. Why does somebody actually need us? Who wants to come off mute and ask? Like why?
To bring them value.
Yeah, what does value mean?
Value means equity in the property.
Make money.
Yeah, make money.
Yeah, we find our value is we help people make money, right? That is what we do. So if you're not helping somebody make money, right, which means that like just like the one we just did with Hans, that they want to sell it for 9 million, I wouldn't pay more than 5. How much time am I going to spend on that kind of deal? You know what I mean? Like what am I going to do? Like even like if anyone of you guys were around during the live calling session, the woman who was like, yeah, I'm kind of negotiating a deal for cannabis. I threw an offer for 500 grand at her because I'm not going to waste my time on this deal unless I'm going to make like $200,000-300,000. If I'm going to make 5 grand, like it was, if I'm going to make $20,000 on this deal, I'm probably not going to waste a lot of time on it. I want a 6-figure commission check, right? I'll work hard for a 6-figure commission check. If I'm going to make 10K, I don't know what the I'm doing for that. It's just not worth my time, right? It's just not, right? If it's an easy layup, I'll take a free 10 grand. Thanks, have a nice day, right? Like, a lot of people refer me a bunch of, again, it's still a bunch of residential deals. I don't do anything for my residential deals. I just say, hey, here's my guy, right? And then my guy does the work and I get a check for 5, 8, 10, 15, 20K from the residential deal that, based on the arrangement we have set up, right? It's like, sure, I'll make less, but like I got to do no work for it because I'm trying to make sure I'm focused on the deals where we're going to make some serious money. So it's like we're here to find good opportunities for people to make money. If they're not going to make good money, why do they need me? They can just look on the listing. If they want to make a 4% rate of return, they don't need you. If investors were okay making a 4% rate of return a year, they don't need us. The reason why they do need us is because they want to make better than that and they can't find it themselves. Show me the money. Thank you, Ken. I agree. Jose Reyes says, how would you negotiate your commission for land deals? Okay, let's talk about it. Come off mute. Let's chat. What's the situation?
Hey, how you doing?
What's up?
I'm not Chan. No, I'm about to send the LOI today for that land deal that I've been asking about the last couple of days. Coming in at an offer less than what they're asking for. But I really haven't spoken to the seller. Coincidentally, I just realized that the person listing on the MLS or the realtor is actually the owner, even though they didn't disclose it initially. But I haven't discussed anything about commissions. So maybe this is my first time doing a land deal, so I'm not sure if she come in at a 6% or 5%, 3%. Ask them what they're offering. Yeah, so I would just say, what do you look, if he's a realtor, you can just say, what are you offering? If you're ever speaking to a real estate agent, you can always just say, what are you offering? If it's a normal seller, like let's just say it wasn't a listed property, okay, and you're talking direct to an owner, you could ask 6 points all day. Okay. 6 points all day. Even if but right now, I'd probably say that he's probably saying he's going to offer you 2%, 3%, maybe. Right. Even if it's the realtor listing it is the owner of the land, or at least that's what comes up on the. Listen, if he has it listed for sale, he has some type of co-op agreement, right? Probably with himself, right?
thinking about it. Like if I listed my own property for sale, I would tell you, hey, I'll pay you X amount of money. I've said this 100 times. Realtors call me up all the time. Hey, would you sell your property? Yes, my price is this, and I will pay you a 2% commission if I can net X. That's how I tell people. I was like, if it means that if I like this is my number, I want to net X, right? And you bring me a deal that only the difference between this and this is less than 2% commission, you're making less than 2% commission because I don't need to sell it. So either you get me a price that I want to sell it for, or I don't need to sell it. Right. So, anyways, it's just like so they might be more of a hard ass like me.
That's great. Thank you.
Got it, buddy. You got it. Best of luck with that. Sam, what do you got?
Yeah, I have kind of two sets of questions, and I think they're relevant to the group. The first one is just mostly on an initial conversation with the seller, and they ask either, why my property, or what do you plan to do with the tenants? I can BS enough to be dangerous, but I don't do super extensive research on the tenants before calling the property.
Sure.
So when they ask a question about like, why am I special? What do you generally answer?
I'll just kind of give you a bunch of different options, right? Let's just say they go, what do you plan on doing with my property? Well, that depends on what my partners and I agree upon. I'm not sure yet. I can tell you what we've done in the past, which is, we've kept it as is. We've rented out the property. However, that might be different. I don't know. Like I'd love to know, maybe, depending on the situation of the building, it changes. But based on past history, this is, we would keep it as is and continue to rent it if that is the scenario. So I like to kind of talk off of past histories. Plus, I'm not a developer, right? Like I don't claim to be a developer, and I'm never going to be like, yeah, I plan on knocking your building down and then building a skyscraper. I'm not going to say that ever. Even if the building was right here, right? Like, in Miami, it's a perfect prime development opportunity unless they say it's a great development opportunity. I'd be like, yeah, we're looking to develop because I want to talk into their opportunity mindset, right? Like, oh, it's a great opportunity to develop. Yeah. We're possibly looking at it that way. We also are looking at it as an as-is situation because then they're gonna be like, oh, well, it's not worth anything if you look at it as is. The day one cap rate, it's not a cap. Remember those sellers are like, hey, it's not a cap rate sale. It's based off of development value. That's why like every situation is going to be a little bit of a different type of situation. But when they say like, why am I special? I want to be in this area. Specifically, we want to be in this area. We want to be in this town. That's an easy way to overcome that objection. Not that your building's anything specific. I want to be in this area, and you were one of the only people I called. So I think that the big thing you also have to keep in mind is like just be careful of how deep you go in a rabbit hole. So I like to try to be brief and then get them to, and then go back into the script. Right? It's like a bullshit question that doesn't have any value. You know what I mean?
Right.
Why is your name Sam? What the kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like, what do you want me to say?
I gotcha. Cool. And then the second question was, I think a bunch of us are on Mojo, and I mean, where I am, I have my calls recorded because it's a one party, kind of state. Any tips for kind of putting those through AI or just like leveraging the voice recordings that you have as best as you can to kind of go back and maybe doing that automatically? I might be grasping at straws, but ideally I would have those kind of exported automatically and then summarized.
What are you looking for ideally?
I would like to have 4 or 5 key points. So like pricing guidance, seller financing, next steps, any objections, right?
Okay, I'll give you an example. So if you record yourself on Zoom while you make your calls, right? And because I have I have my recording things on here, it will transcribe it for you. That's one. If you use Follow Up Boss, which many of you guys have used or chose to use because I've used it for God knows how long, if you call through Follow Up Boss, the call recording does that as well. So it translates it in real time if you use Follow Up Boss. Some CRM systems use that, some do not. So as you can see, we got the note taker here already giving us some notes in the chat. So yeah, I mean, I would highly recommend that you're using either like a Zoom note recorder. I don't know about note taker, but I've used like Otterpilot, does a very good job. Some other ones are pretty good. So we have some different options.
Got it. Appreciate it.
You got it.